for a panel with a representative from SAP, Evonik Ventures, and a good company, facilitated by KPMG, Hadass. And after that, we're gonna just follow on to a virtual networking session for about 20 minutes. We're gonna be split into rooms. It's gonna be interesting, and stay with us. So I'll just forward to Ido.
Thank you, Ila, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone who are joining. I'm going to try and be very brief to leave more time for the panel and then for the breakout room for our virtual mingling. So just to quickly present who we are a good company. We're an early stage VC, and we invest in people and planet technologies. We actually say that we want to invest in the future operating system of the new sustainable economy. These are our sectors where we invest: work, education, and health. That's everything that a person needs. And in terms of our planet, we focus on energy, agriculture, and circular economy. Next slide, please. These are our current portfolio companies, at least the ones that are public, that we are able to share right now. So we have some companies, at least one company in each sector that we invest in. From the notable ones you can see on the top: Be Hero, Tulu, Healthy, and Rhino. Also other amazing companies like Return Go, Marina, Joti, Dagave, Filbert, Tatio, Meli, really diverse and mission-driven portfolio. Next. Except from the fact that we are a VC, we're also running, I think we skipped a few slides.
Just a second, yeah.
It skipped from 1 to 14. Next one. Yes. So except the fact that we are a VC, we're also running the Good Company Movement, which is this event that you're on is part of the movement activities. The movement is our partnership with other investors in the industry, corporate and academia. And together we try to kind of reverse engineer VC. So every once in a while, we focus on a specific topic and go out on a mission to find the best startups who are solving dedicated problems. Next. We run 6 missions to date, worked with 32 corporates that started 12 pilots with the startups, worked with 16 other VCs. We saw 720 startups through these missions, and actually 5 of our current fund investment came through these missions. So currently we're running the Sustainable Consumption and Production mission together with these amazing partners that you can see the logos down below here. And thank you all for applying and participating today. The focus areas that we define together with our partners, that's how we start every mission. We sit together in a roundtable discussion and we try to understand from the corporate, from the different industries, what are the most burning issues that these people are trying, or these corporates are trying to solve. And that's how we also focus on our kind of prioritizing the startups that we want to meet. Next. We're going to have, in 3 weeks from now, on the 17th of May, we're going to have an action day. We're going to select 10 of the most interesting startups together with our partners, of course, and we will have the startups presenting, and we're going to run 60 one-on-one meetings between the startups and different industry experts from the corporate, from different domains like investors, product people, technology people, go-to-market people, etc., etc. So we are looking forward, and we're already running through the list of submissions. I think we got over 100 applications. Hila, correct me if I'm not getting the numbers right. So over 100 applications, and we are struggling actually because a lot of the startups are really good So struggling to narrow it down to only 10. And we look forward to seeing you all. And obviously today is also a very good time to interact with the partners here today. To summarize the mission, also on the action day or shortly after, we will publish a report covering the latest trend that we see in the industry of retail, circular economy, consumption and production, and highlighting a few of the startups. Next. Then I think that's it from my side. Thank you again, everyone. And I'll be happy to meet you later in the breakout room. So stay until the end for that. Thanks. Back to, sorry. I would like to invite Adas from KPMG to lead the panel.
Great. Thank you, Ido. And I'm happy to see that we have so many participants in this panel today. So as Ido mentioned, my name is Adas and I'm a partner at KPMG Israel. I actually I'm a tax partner assisting a lot of tech companies with all of the tax matters in Israel and abroad. And I'm also leading KPMG's impact practice, which KPMG, I have to say, put a lot of time and efforts in order to develop this segment of activity, especially with technology companies. And today we do have a great panel discussion, and the panelists will introduce themselves in a second, but basically this panel discussion will focus on the challenges and opportunities and trends and the best practices in driving business opportunities for startups in the retail and supply chain area. We will look through corporate innovation and CVCs, and let's meet our panelists. So I think each panelist, if you can maybe present yourself, your current role, some of your background and what is your company especially doing. Hila, maybe we would start with you.
Thank you, Adas. I'm Hila. I work at Good Company VC. I'm an analyst. In my background, I come from the area of impact investments. From the philanthropy, I started in philanthropy, but then moved for also government funding for early stage startups, and then advocating for impact investments in ESG with financial institutions and government. Yeah, this is me. Thank you.
Great. Joseph?
You're on mute.
You're mute, yeah.
That always happens once in a seminar, so I've done it for all of you and been on mute. So my name is Joseph Cowan. I'm the venture partner for Evonik Venture Capital based here in Israel. Evonik is a German multinational company, materials company, more than 30,000 employees, global presence, global manufacturing, sales of more than 15 billion euro per year. So my role here in Israel is to look for opportunities. Evonik has identified Israel as an important market. Evonik Venture Capital is based in Germany, but we have people located in the States and in China, and myself here in Israel. Just to complete the picture, I'm helped here in Israel by one of my colleagues from the business line, and together we look for opportunities here.
Great, thank you. And Mark?
Thank you, Hadas, and my sincere apologies, everyone. My camera has decided to stop working this morning, so I can see all of you, but you're not able to see me. My name is Mark Osborne. I work for SAP. For those of you that don't know SAP, we're the world's largest business process software company. We started as an ERP provider, but now have software applications that span a wide variety of business process areas. In my role, I lead business development and strategy globally for consumer industries. So that would include retail, consumer products, wholesale distribution, life sciences, healthcare, and agribusiness. And myself and my team focus on the development and commercialization of new innovation areas that SAP is exploring. So it's our job to try to bring those things to market, explore the opportunity, evaluate whether or not we see growth potential. And a lot of that relates to startup innovation. So we do quite a bit of work with the team at sap.io. We have a foundry there in Tel Aviv. Work very closely with the team there, but also with the global team to help develop our startup innovation ecosystem as part of our innovation endeavors.
Great. Thank you. So, Joseph, I want to start this panel discussion with you, right? So Evonik is really a huge company and it sounds like it has a lot of interest and focus area. So I think we can understand from your intro that maybe almost every material company and manufacturing company can be relevant to Evonik, or do you have any specific segments, I would say, of activity?
Right. So quickly, I'll run through the areas that interest us. We're a materials company, so specialty chemicals, of course, is sort of our standard bread and butter type of interest. We look for specialist types of things, not really end products. We're high-end ingredients in chemical processes. We also have an interest in healthcare, materials for the healthcare industry. We're not a pharma company, but we supplier of materials to pharma and other healthcare areas. Personal care, which is what you would call cosmetics. So we are suppliers of, and we look for opportunities for new materials that go into cosmetics. We're interested in additive manufacturing, and parenthetically, that's my background. My connection to Evonik is through my experience in the 3D printing or additive manufacturing area. We do look at things in Industry 4.0, agri-tech, food tech, but generally in all of these areas, we look for opportunities for, we'll call it sort of up the value chain. So we don't really, in most cases, have end products. We're looking for the technology and the materials inside that go into end products. And then finally, the area which I think is probably most relevant is that of our 400 million euro budget for investment, we have 150 million that was added last year in what is called Sustainability Tech Fund. And the topics within that fund are things like recycling feedstock replacement, circular economy, energy, hydrogen, ingredients or materials for batteries. That is the general portfolio of interest that we have in the sustainability area.
That's impressive, and I think we are always happy to hear about large corporations such as Evonik, transferring more funds into this area. But I think, also maybe you can share with us is how exactly are you deciding in which company to invest? Because I know obviously you have also maybe some relations, I would say, to the corporate goals and achievements, and maybe you can share with us really the decision-making process.
Yeah, so we're driven by our business lines. I think this will be sort of a recurring theme that I'll touch upon. I think I'll touch upon a couple of times. We don't invest if it doesn't have the approval or it is not interesting for one of our business lines. And that's what distinguishes a corporate VC from a regular VC. We need to know what is the strategic value. And that also has an effect on how we view the opportunity. Of course, we want to invest in successful businesses, but the financial success of the business is only one concern of ours. The value of the investment from a strategic point of view is, I would say, almost in some cases, almost as important, because that's our mission is to amplify our own internal R&D in the material, in the various fields that I mentioned, by looking outside and connecting through venture investing with other companies or with startup companies that are developing things that we're not developing ourselves. So the process is very much how it works from my end of the process. I'm here in the market. So I look for companies, startups approach me. The first task would be to see if the startup meets our basic innovation goals, our fields of innovation that we've set for ourselves, what I mentioned earlier, topics that I mentioned earlier. And then I do an initial screen, if you like, of the companies by looking to see the maturity, the structure, the team, the surrounding things. I'm not, one of the things about being a scout from a multinational company with so many interests is that I can't be an expert on everything. And so I don't, at that stage, engage in a technology discussion. Of course, I need to know more or less what the technology is or the direction of the technology and what the technology can do. But at that point, if it is of interest, I feed this back to our team in Germany, and they do have the knowledge in two respects. They have technical knowledge. They're technologists, PhDs in chemistry or agriculture or any of these fields. And in the other respect, they also interface with the business lines so that they know what, or they're told by the business lines what it is that they should be looking for. So if we pass all of those, then we engage the company, get more information, and then the discussion becomes more technical, more detailed. Of course, as the local person here in Israel, I do, I suppose, relate to many of the local issues, cultural issues. I represent Evonik in Israel, but in some way I also try to represent the companies that we're looking at to Evonik.
Mm-hmm. Great. So thank you, Joseph. We will come back to you in a minute. Okay, so I want to move on to Hila. Hila, you're from a good company which operate the movement platforms and run these missions in different topics, which we love, by the way. KPMG was obviously a partner this year and also last year with these great missions. And from your experience from running these missions, what did you learn about the, I would say, the local climate tech landscape?
Thank you, Adas, again, also for being a valued partner in the mission. The insight that KPMG provides to companies is very valuable, and thank you again. So I would say that for starters, climate tech is a very wide industry. Maybe it's not even an industry. It's an umbrella, definition that you can accumulate so many areas and so many sectors inside of it. So, for example, agriculture, carbon, energy, food tech, supply chain, water, all of them can be equivalent to the climate tech industry. So it's a very wide space, and each kind of sector also has different challenges and different needs and different investors. So what we've seen in the multiple missions that we've done, and that's why exactly each mission kind of focused on a different industry or sector, because the corporates also has different needs. They're looking for different technologies. So it's a wide agenda for different aspects. Two things that we kind of noticed that I can say in a practical matter is that the first one is that there are a lot of logical solutions out there, but either the market, as meaning the customers or regulation, is not fully there yet. For example, with carbon credits, regulation is very trying to keep pace with technologies and entrepreneurs that are building innovative solutions. So we do hope the market will keep up, in a faster way, because there are more and more companies focusing on ESG and carbon reduction in that credit space. And then I think in the second matter is that basically every mission we issue a report. So the last mission kind of focused on reaching net zero, which was carbon reduction, energy, and circular economy. So what was interesting to see, and we reviewed about 9 trends of solutions that corporate right now are implementing in their manufacturing or supply chain or corporate strategy. But there are areas that are so kind of like let's say are two sides of the same coin, basically, which is really interesting. So for example, we have carbon reduction from one side, which you can view as, how can we produce materials that from the first place do not produce any CO2 emission. And then on the other side, there's carbon capture. So meaning that companies still need to kind of like produce CO2 in order to have that being captured at some point, and then also be a part of that carbon credit market. So these are two interesting things that we've seen. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it.
Right. So I want to really touch on one of the points you just mentioned. We're seeing these segments, the climate tech, I would say, as we said, it's a very broad term, but let's call it for a second. So we see it growing very rapidly, also, especially here in Israel. And of course, the tech industry is very affected by the economical situation right now. So we wanted really to ask you, as an early stage VC, what are you looking to see now in early stage startups, and what do they need to bring to the table at that stage?
Yeah, so the financial markets are in a tough situation, I would say in the last year even. But there are a lot of early stage funds that do have the capital to allocate and just are waiting for the right company to step into their door and write that check. So it is true that investors are more selective with what they're going towards. But I think what we're looking for is an early stage, and we usually come in a pre-seed, seed stages, which is pretty much one of the first checks a company would receive. I would like maybe say a few concrete steps that founders need to think about when they're approaching funds like us. Is that, first of all, we're looking for a sustainable and a profound business model, something that they can hold water in a long way, in a long term, and not be changed every few months because of market or customers or whatever it is. So something that can hold water. The second thing is a clear go-to-market and a clear customer target. And then I would say the last thing is a team that can raise just enough capital in order to communicate those fundable and commercial KPIs in a lean way. Founders today really need to understand that maybe they wouldn't hit that target of 10 million, 12 million round as we had in 2021. And they might need to raise little more, little less than what they expected, but it needs to be enough for them to survive, I would say, the next 2 years. So these would be the most important things.
Great. Thank you for the valuable insights. We will come back to you also in a second. And now I want to move to our third panelist, which is Mark from SAP. First, I would like to share our audience a few, I would say, interesting insights about SAP. SAP is the largest ERP vendor and the 12th largest technology company in the world, used by more than 400,000 businesses across 180 different countries, which is amazing numbers, which I'm not sure that everyone here was familiar with. And I wanted to ask you, Mark, based on your experience and giving the wide range of SAP customer base, to what extent is sustainability in the top of your mind of your customers, and what areas of sustainability practices are they focused on?
Well, sustainability is very much top of mind for our customers, and some of the prominent industries that we represent, at least for my areas of responsibility in consumer products and retail, are facing really significant challenges, both as it relates to, I would say, financial and regulatory risk when it comes to sustainability initiatives, but also rapidly evolving consumer expectations around sustainable choices that companies make. So this is very much top of mind. And I'll paint with sort of a very broad brush here about some general categories of sustainability initiatives that we talk about with our customers. But the first is what I would characterize as just pure environmental sustainability. So materials management, alternative packaging, reducing or eliminating carbon emissions, water management, waste reduction. Those are all very much top of mind topics for our customers. The second big area would be in what I would call traceability and trust, especially in supply chain and manufacturing, but also increasingly making its way into marketing and consumer engagement discussions to help address some of those changing expectations of consumers. So initiatives around verification, certification, what I would call anti-initiatives like anti-conflict, anti-counterfeiting, anti-child labor, and being able to represent that you can actually certify those products as meeting those standards based on consumer expectations. And then a third category I would just categorize as sort of creative or indirect initiatives that result in sustainable outcomes. So there's a really wide variety of topics that we continue to explore and continue to build on. So things like I think somebody mentioned earlier, like commerce-enabled carbon credits, re-commerce and reuse, marketplaces for excess inventory or excess materials, and increasingly sustainable product design.
Great. Thank you. So maybe you can also share with us where SAP is investing to support in sustainability practices, like why it is important to you as a global organization.
Well, it's primarily important to us because it's important to the customers that we serve, right? So we're making major investments in many of the same areas that I just mentioned. Maybe I could highlight a few specifics. So, for example, in traceability and trust, that's really sustainability is sort of a pervasive theme when it comes to our SAP Business Networks portfolio area. So that's a cross industry area that SAP is investing in to help drive sustainability and compliance across supply networks globally. We also invest in more industry-specific initiatives. So, for example, we've got a very big investment in what we call intelligent agriculture. So that would be the intelligent application of water, fertilizer, seed, managing crop yields, making sure that you're tracking and tracing that information as those agricultural inputs make their way into the supply chain. And then we've got very specific innovation investments that we're making. And one great example there is Green Token by SAP. So this is an initiative that leverages blockchain technology to be able to certify commodity materials inputs like palm oil and soy as they make their way into varying lots of production materials that go into the production of food and packaging and other items. Another big area of investment for SAP is what we call responsible design and production. So this covers topics, like I mentioned, like materials management, but also helps our customers manage plastic and other materials related taxes. And we're building out additional capabilities to support sustainable product design. And then we've got some CX related initiatives, like I mentioned, around re-commerce and returns. But I would say another huge area of investment for us, especially over the course of the last 3-4 years, has really been in our partner ecosystem. So I'm proud to say that we have hundreds of companies now that are part of the SAP partner ecosystem that offer sustainability related solutions for a wide variety of applications that are all complementary to the SAP portfolio.
So it really sounds like, a lot of the participants here in the audience, SAP would be very relevant for them. And maybe you can share with us a little bit about the onboarding process for those startups.
Sure. I think there's two ways to think about it. One is, and probably the most effective way to approach it, if you have the opportunity, depending on where you are as a company in your growth stage and investment profile, is to participate in one of our SAP.io Foundry Cohort Accelerator programs. We have 10 different Foundry locations all around the world. One, as I mentioned earlier, based right there in Tel Aviv. Each Foundry pursues a different theme or different topic on an annual basis. And as the companies that participate in those programs get involved, it's a very, very formal process to identify complementary areas of the SAP solution portfolio, articulate data integration and process integration scenarios, and do a formal onboarding into the SAP Partner Edge program and explore additional opportunities like our Industry Cloud program as well. But that being said, these programs are open, and we encourage anyone to join us as a partner. So there's plenty of opportunity for companies that maybe would not be interested or don't have the opportunity to participate in one of our Foundry Accelerator programs, simply just to apply to become an SAP partner. It's a very straightforward process. It's a very open process, and there's much more information available on sap.com for anybody that would be interested in learning more.
Great. So what is, I would say, to wrap up this discussion, what is the tip you want to give to the startups that are here that want to work with SAP?
Well, the first thing I would say is, really spend some time trying to understand the SAP portfolio and where you think you have the most complementary fit, because you have to approach this from the standpoint of what I like to say is 1 + 1 = 3. Right? It's not just about what you do. What you do is absolutely fantastic, and you're making a super positive contribution to sustainability initiatives. But for our customers, what's really important is what we can do together. So what does the combined capability of our respective offerings enable us to do together that neither one of us could do on our own? And how can we leverage that to demonstrate success? Because nothing at SAP generates success more than success. So if we can get to some customers and actually demonstrate that the combined capabilities that we're bringing to market are generating value for them, that's what really gets others inside of SAP excited and other customers excited about what we can accomplish together.
Understood. Thank you, Mark. That was very interesting. Hila and Joseph, I want to direct the same question to you. What advice or what tip can you give to the startups on the call? Joseph, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. So earlier I said that what differentiates a corporate VC from regular VCs is that we need to be connected to our business lines. And so my biggest advice, my biggest tip that I can give to startups that want to get funding from Evonik or work with Evonik in one way is do your homework about Evonik. So it will really helps that when you make an initial presentation to Evonik that you've looked at what we're doing. There's tons of information on the website. As experts in your field, you're a startup with an expertise, you probably have a good idea, or you could easily get information about what Evonik is doing in your space. And so that shows us seriousness about how you see an investment and a potential collaboration with Evonik. And so I urge you to do that homework before you make the presentation. I'll just add one other point. We don't invest, we invest as strategic and investors that for financial gain as well, but we don't necessarily invest in order to add a product to our catalog. So it's we look at investments. It's not, we're not going to connect with you just to get a product, although that can happen. It's not a prerequisite. So if you're doing something and it involves materials, just say, which area of the Evonik material portfolio you think that your startup can benefit from. So that, I would say, sums up the most important thing. That will help us internally get to the right people inside Evonik. Evonik has so many different businesses that even us in the venture capital side, we sometimes need guidance from you, and you know that your business better than we do. And by presenting that to us up front, it makes a really, really good impression and an efficient process as we talk with our business units.
Thank you. Ilan?
Yes, I totally agree with what Joseph said. And something we tell founders is 3 things: be focused, be authentic, and be bold. And I think the first one is very important because there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of investors, a lot of technologies, and a lot of potential customers. So we tell founders, be focused on what you want to achieve, how do you want to achieve it, and which type of investors you want to be backed by. So the most important thing is be focused.
Great. Thank you all for this great panel discussion. It was very interesting. Ido?
Thank you, Ada. It was super interesting to hear, and I was reading through the intros in the chat, so it sounds like there's a lot of interesting startups that kind of, I think that Mark and Joseph will be happy to hear, and so do I.
Thank you everyone for attending the webinar. I hope it was helpful. Again, my email is in the chat box. Feel free to email us if you have any questions. Just a quick note about the status of the applications. We are in the final stage of finalizing the reviewing of the applications. So start of May, which is in a few more days, we're going to let you know what is the status of your application if you have been selected to present in the action day. I would also know that in case that you have not been selected, but either a different investor or corporate did mention that your solution is relevant to them. So we would be happy to facilitate an introduction and help you scale your solution way ahead. So thank you again for joining and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.